Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Level Up podcast. Today I have with me Chris Baker, who is the partner of Kure Creative. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me on, Gaetano.
Of course. So just for our listeners out there, you should all know that Chris is not only someone I do business with regularly, but also a really great friend of mine. So he would, of course, be my first guest on this podcast. So, Chris, the first thing I want to hear from you is, what is Kure Creative and how did that get started?
Yeah, so great question. Kure Creative is a boutique creative agency, and we specialize in providing creative services to small and medium-sized businesses. That means graphic design, social media management, content creation, mostly around using video production, and some web support as well. And, we focus a lot on creating amazing content, exciting content, helping people manage and run their social media accounts. And a lot of the video production that we do is centered around, real estate, creating content for real estate professionals in Boston and New England.
Awesome. Now tell us, Chris, you're like one of the most creative guys that I know. If I'm trying to come up with an idea or something, I'm calling Chris and I'm spitballing with him for like 30 minutes to an hour. We're riffing, coming up with all these ideas. Where does that come from? Like, were you always this kind of creative mind growing up, or how did that come to be?
Well, my dad is a writer and a journalist. And my mom worked for a bunch of different advertising agencies growing up in Portland, Oregon. And I just was always exposed to the arts, exposed to a lot of media. I grew up a little skateboard and snowboard kid, so I was producing my own little short films. And then I think ultimately where it really clicked in the professional sense is like I've always just had a passion for storytelling, learning about people, learning about their stories, and finding that exciting spark within the idea and pouring gas on that and really like just bringing what I find to be the most lively, dynamic part of the idea and bringing that to the forefront and finding a cool way to tell the story.
Awesome. So I know that your business kind of took a huge turn and really blew up when you started focusing on real estate. So what was that transition like, and how have you established yourself as such a well-known player in the real estate video marketing space today?
Totally. Well, I was already a partner in the agency that I now own at the time when I sort of had the vision for producing content for real estate professionals. And what it stemmed from is I was on Instagram and I was seeing how, content creators in New York and LA and other major metropolises were using their listings and using properties as the stars of creating content. And I saw in Boston a kind of a juxtaposition where people were producing content around properties, but it was really just to educate only potential buyers through MLS. And I said to myself, like, wow, there's all this great property that's super sexy in Boston. So many different people doing exciting things. These people all could be using these properties for email blasts, for social media, for their website. Just there's a plethora of different avenues that they could go down with producing content to strengthen their brands. And I felt like it was a little bit singular in its application. And then I was fortunate enough to have the door cracked open. I knew a few developers. I knew some great brokers who were doing great business in the city. And I just took a chance, and I had an amazing videographer. I really didn't know what I was doing, but I just had a vision of producing content that was more friendly for social, highlighting the properties first. So it really just kind of took off from there. And yeah.
That's awesome. And I've actually seen the progression of real estate video marketing over even just the last 3 years. I can remember when it was just photos, and that was the standard. And now it's like, if you don't have drone shots or a really cool video for your listing, you're selling yourself short, and sellers expect that now. And you do such a fantastic job doing that. Now, what is your secret to making one video sort of stand out from the others? Because I'm sure brokers come to you and they're like, I want to do a real estate video, but I don't want this to be just like any real estate marketing video. So how do you kind of make each one special?
Totally. Okay. Well, first of all, you need to just not get caught up in running with the same template, and remember that every creative project is a blank slate, and to accept new ideas, accept your clients' new ideas, and be flexible. And I mean, I can even look at like when I was coming in 3 years ago, really starting doing real estate videography, I remember looking at what was the standing product and feeling like, wow, that's really rigid, kind of as I just referenced. And as I continued to produce more work, sort of by that year and a half mark, there was already people who were seeing what I was doing, and not saying they were copying what I was doing, but they were bringing that product to the market as well. So immediately I was like, I don't want to be what I'm trying to be better than by not innovating and not coming up with fresh concepts. So I started doing things like, putting the broker in front of the camera or the developer and letting them explain and highlight and build their own brand by putting their face in front of it, explainer videos, on-screen graphics, neighborhood videos, like really just opening your mind up and just letting anything be a possibility. And then as I progressed also with just doing the basic listing videos, our production value increased and our skills increased, our editing ability increased. We got better equipment, and that opened the door to doing, more brand videos, more complex concepts.
Yeah, I love that aspect of what you do. And, for me, just to fill you guys in, Chris and I have done everything from developer tour walkthroughs. We shot a sizzle reel to pitch to HGTV. So Chris does a lot more than just like the average listing video. For our listeners out there, Chris, what would you tell an agent who is shy on camera, never been on camera before, and, really wants to make a great video? How do you deal with, those types of people? Some people are natural. Some people need a little bit of coaching. Tell us about that.
Well, I think that you let the property do the talking and you go with the facts, because everybody feels a little corny when they're selling themselves, but it's already your job to sell the property. So you should feel comfortable talking about that and really just leaning into, the unique attributes of the architecture, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the best things about working with Chris, and I just have to give you this one accolade, it's like when you're on set with Chris or at the listing presentation, you take on the role of like almost a director. You're feeding lines, you're kind of making people feel comfortable. And I feel like that's something that sets you apart. So I have to ask, is there more to these videos? Are you thinking of maybe going into film, or is that like an itch that you want to scratch, maybe one day doing some directing or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of, within my team currently, I already sort of play the role of director producer. So I go out and find the clients, I concept with them, I write the scripts, and then I show up on set. And, I have a videographer who's amazing. I should shout him out at some point during this. But yeah, no, as my product evolves and as I continue to work with bigger companies, I definitely want to come up with more long form content, doing different, more exciting projects, doing things that include more live action, more scripting, blocking. But yeah, no, I love that idea of being kind of controlling everything on set, being kind of getting to play the Steven Spielberg or, maestro, and having my videographer and my clients who are often my friends, and just trying to create a really good synergy. Because that's when you create good content, is when people are comfortable. when you're uncomfortable, you're stiff, and it just doesn't come across the same way. So short answer is yes. I would love to continue to work on new projects.
Awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about COVID, the coronavirus, and how that's had an impact on your business.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just caused me, like anybody I feel like who was successful during COVID-19, to just really be innovative, to be fearless, and to not let COVID cause me to have a scarcity based mindset, to be like, oh my God, clients are tightening up. There's not as much work out there. I try to just eliminate that and really look at it as an opportunity to get more market share, to do new things that were more exciting, because I really believe that anytime there is in any market, whether you're doing what I do, you're a real estate professional, you're a lawyer, you're a dentist, anytime there's some sort of unrest or turnover in society, that's a time for you to grab market share. There is people who are pulling back, people who are being afraid, and there's people who are stepping into it. So I really just tried to lean into it. And, one thing is like Zoom exploded, that it became COVID, and video communication went hand in hand. So as COVID became more and more of a long-term thing, people were looking for solutions, using videography to communicate with their customers, whether they were my social clients or, people I was just producing content for. And that video being pushed into the forefront just only gave me more opportunity to work with more clients and sell people on, more creative concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, especially with this virus, the more people that can see and experience property without visiting it, I mean, is super important. So
totally. And it was the health aspect too, of when you watch a video, you can be somewhere without necessarily needing to be there, which was pretty crucial with the COVID-19 virus.
Of course. Now, let's hear about I know that let's put it out there. I know you shot Tom Brady's house in Brookline, that amazing property. It was listed with Beth Dickerson. And tell me about that experience. What was that like? What was it like being inside Tom Brady and Giselle's house?
It was pretty special. I mean, it was a cool experience. And I mean, like I said earlier, I'm from Portland, Oregon. So I felt like I kind of had reached the apex of being a New Englander by shooting Tom Brady's house. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a great elevator pitch for the rest of my life with this business, being like, oh yeah, well, we did Brady's house. But yeah, no, it was great. I mean, the property was outstanding. It's right on the country club. You really feel like, you're in Western Mass somewhere, but you're in a, $25 million mansion in Brookline. And yeah, it was really exciting. You got to play it cool though. At the same time, whenever you're entering anyone's, whether it's a Brady or just someone who happens to be very wealthy, but not famous, you always need to just be chill. Don't be too wowed. Just be a professional. And so that's really when I was in there, I was focused on being a professional. I wasn't looking at anything. I was just doing my job the best that I possibly could. But no, I was no doubt really excited. And you actually helped me set me up, get that gig. And a funny story about the Tom Brady video is I got the phone call while on the chairlift skiing on the weekend. And Beth called me and said, they've asked me to find a videographer. You're my first choice. Can you be here at this time and on this day and do it for the amount of money that she suggested? And of course, I just said yes and kind of closed the deal in like 45 seconds. And I got up to the top of the mountain, was standing there, and I was like, wow, just landed the Brady job in such a random place and a random time. So it was cool.
That's awesome. Now, what has been to date your, kind of favorite or maybe most exciting or interesting project that you've done?
The stuff with you and 33 Mount Vernon was pretty special, just because I feel like, we really came at it with a fresh take and had an amazing storytelling process of, you finding the property, the development process, the sales videos, and then ultimately the recap video. And I got a lot of really positive response from those. I would say also Ricardo Rodriguez's and Associates brand video was definitely something I've been really proud of, due to the fact that it has no talking in it. It's all based, the whole concept, the creative concept is all based through just amazing editing and transitions. And I think it says a lot in 30 seconds about the team, about the city, and about, how they communicate and how they're excellent at what they do without overtly saying any of that. So to me, that's what's when you create a really great ad or a great piece, you should be able to, it should say a lot without needing to be so literal. That's when I think you've really hit on something that's like exciting.
Like show, don't tell, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Show, don't tell. And I think that one was probably one of my best examples of the show, don't tell philosophy.
Yeah, I love what you do with Ricardo's videos. They're like funny, and some of them are just short little clips that you layer into the IG. And I think that, that's really great about what you do too. It's not just these listing videos, but you actually can come up with sort of a brand strategy for these brokers and give them like little bits of media to release on their Instagram. I know you've done that for me, and it's, the feedback has been great.
Yeah. I mean, that I'll tell you is like, that video came out the way it did because of Ricardo's confidence in my team and also his confidence in himself. And he had a vision. He called me up and was like, hey, can you come to my office? Like, I know you guys are downtown shooting today. We really didn't plan that video before we did it that much. I sat down in his office with him for, maybe 5 minutes, and he pulled the whole team in and said, Chris and I have come up with this concept, clear your schedules for the next 2.5 hours. We're going to walk around in a group and get these shots. And we really just riffed off of each other, and he just threw caution to the wind, and what we came up with because of that sort of fearless mentality was pretty special.
Awesome. Now, can anyone just sort of work with you, Chris? Like, let's say one of our listeners wants to shoot one of their properties. How would they get in touch with you? How much does it cost? Are you selective about who you hire? Speak a little bit about that.
So do you just reach out to me, Chris at Kure Creative, Kure, and we can link that in the notes below. But I'll pretty much work with anyone as long as we have a good synergy. Like, I hop on the phone with any client prior to working with them. So even if someone emails me and says, hey, I have this amazing property, I'm willing to, pay whatever. To me, it's a personal relationship. I want to make sure they understand what I'm selling and they understand what they're getting. There's clear communication. They're excited, and that we have a good rapport. If I have a good rapport with someone, I'm confident that I can deliver an A+ product no matter what. And then I really think it's when I work with people, I try to pick a simple project to start with first. So maybe just a listing video, so then we can get to know each other, and then I can kind of get a vibe for their personality, their brand, what makes them unique, and then build into more complex projects or, brand videos or other things. But we're always looking for clients, and hit us up. We're happy to help.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely link all your contact information. So let's move on and just talk a little bit about, Chris Baker wakes up in the morning. What is like your morning routine? How do you set yourself up for success? You're a disciplined guy. I know you've done martial arts. You're an avid runner. So walk us through some of like your habits and kind of how you get your mind ready to tackle the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not perfect, and I'll say that right off rip. And I don't think that there's any one solution for being a top performer, but I think having a great morning routine is something that's essential to me. I try to wake up early. It's between 6:30 and 7. I go on a 20 to 30 minute run with my wife. That sort of sets our days in motion together. And then I come back and I have a routine for getting ready in the morning, and it puts me, at the computer or headed. I always say I like to be on the computer or headed downtown by 8 a.m. And then from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., it gives me time to prep for my team, whether I'm, making phone calls to them as we're all headed out to a shoot at 9, or to be, giving instructions for editing, or to my account manager, within that first hour of the day. And it helps me get a jump on my day, because I'm a type of person that I'm either all on or I'm off. And I was a collegiate runner. I practiced Muay Thai. It was a fighter. And when I lock in, I lock in. And when I don't, I can be a little lazy. And I think that it's important to know that about yourself. And so you can stay on top of it. And it's really all about habit stacking. It's about all the stuff we do in Level Up. And I will say that being in Level Up has helped me, immensely.
Awesome. So for someone listening who wants to start their own creative agency, or, is working a 9-to-5 job, but always had dreams of being a filmmaker or a videographer or getting into this business, what advice would you give, a younger guy or girl who wanted to get into this business?
A bunch of different things I could say. A is invest your time in one medium. So if you're a videographer or an editor and you also have some graphic design skills, it's great to be multifaceted as a creative, but doing one thing extremely well will act as the tip of the spear to get you into the paid gig realm and out of the just IG creating, just doing it all for yourself. You need to have a focus. So whether you're a web developer, you're a designer, whatever your medium is, your practice, put all your eggs in that one basket. And you might find people that tell you differently, but from my experience, for a young person, that's really one of the best things that they can do. And then also the other thing I tell people when they've achieved that step and they're trying to get into building a team or even just getting paid clients themselves is you need to shift out of the mentality of creating value for yourself and how do you create value for your client. So there's a huge difference in that a lot of people lock in on their own vision, their own aesthetic. They like a certain type of music, certain type of lighting, but that's your thing. It might not be what's going to get the job done for your client. So always be thinking, how am I creating value for my client? How is this video going to work for them? And putting them first all the time. You're the subcontractor, and just looking at the project from their eyes. Where are they going to use this? Where are they going to get an ROI? And not just, oh, I'm cool. Let me create the dopest piece of content that I can that I think will hype my own fans up.
Got it. So what I'm hearing you say is really client focused, whatever you can do to add value to your client and following that.
Yeah. Client focused, pick a discipline, become the best at it so you can charge what you think you're worth in it, what you're worth. So try to be the number one player in your field. And then also when you get paid, remember someone's paying you to work on their stuff. This is not a creative expression of your own. You got to kind of put your ego to the side and do what the client asks.
All right. So one other thing I want to bring up is, we're in a age now where technology is growing so fast, exponentially. There are new social media platforms coming out constantly. TikTok is now huge. I'm seeing this new app called Clubhouse. And, for someone in your position, it requires you to be super nimble and always being willing to, flex or shift into these new mediums. So what are some ways, how do you keep up with that? And what do you see as sort of the next platform or next style of videos that you would pitch to your client who wants something fresh and new?
Yeah. So, you got to just be flexible and realize that for me, it's like kind of what I harken back to. Like, I got to where I am now by being flexible and by sort of breaking the rules and coming up with new applications and new ways of doing things. So I think just maintaining that kind of a thought process is essential, and not getting stuck with producing only for one platform. And then I would say, like, just overall across the whole landscape of media, you're just seeing a move to shorter form content. Videos are, whether they're on IG, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, doesn't matter. You see it with the reels, and TikTok really kind of permeated the other platforms. But I just say snappier, quicker, more focused, hipper little video clips, because people just, the way these apps work, the way the scroll is, you got to really snag people within the first, 3 seconds, really, to get them to engage with your post. And, oftentimes what a minute long video is just way too long. 30 seconds is what I was recommending. Now we're on to creating, 10 to 15 second pieces as really being, a huge majority of what we do.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because we've obviously been shooting together for years now, and I have all this footage from Kure, and I got a TikTok account. I took that footage and I chopped it up into little bite-sized videos and just spread them all over my TikTok. And I got about 10,000 followers in a period of like 2 weeks. So it's insane, the amount of growth, the algorithm that app has. And I think what I'm learning from it is, going forward, Chris, and we've had this conversation, is we're not looking to do those 2-minute sort of longer videos. We're looking for easily digestible, kind of like bite-sized, high impact videos that you can kind of sprinkle through your IG, TikTok, and that's where it's at. And I mean, I've gotten a lot of traction with those smaller videos.
Yeah, I think to kind of piggyback that, dovetail on that is, this is where it comes into when you're working on a creative project and you're producing a video, you want to be thinking multiple applications. So that's what I'm always telling people is, like, how can we take this $1,000 you're spending on working on a project with me, or whatever the budget is, and how can we take that MLS listing video and we make it applicable for your website? We give you fire content for IG stories and for TikTok, and we also give you an email blast. So sometimes, the best way to do it is, I think sometimes, is you start with a basic concept, and then you look at, all right, how can we dice this up to do a bunch of different things for me? And I think that's really how you create more value for your client. Like I said, it's all about creating value. You got to be flexible. You got to be nimble. And if you see trends are for 6-second videos, you got to be ready to make one.
Awesome. So, we're about to wrap up here, but let's hear about your future vision for Kure Creative. So let's talk, maybe like 5 years out. Where do you see Kure Creative going? What's the vision?
Well, I think that, I want to bring on more people onto my team, more amazing creators and people who are passionate about, marketing and what's coming next in this industry, and especially in the Northeast. And I really just see us continuing down the road of content creation and social media management. We provide, other services as well, design and video, but I found that that's really where I want to be investing my time. That's what excites me. I also feel like those two services are a nice 1-2 punch. Being able to produce content and then place it and manage its release provides a lot of value for the client. It's very streamlined. And I think continuing to just develop long-term relationships with, people who want to work with us over 5 years. I can give you a non-real estate example. I have a client who I've worked with for 3 years, Dom Sausages out of Malden. And when I started with him, he had like 1,800 followers on Facebook. In the first 2 years, we grew him to over 10,000. And then, and then we did the same with his Instagram account. Now his up in the 6,000 range. And I think what really excites me is taking someone who has a badass business or a product, sticking with them, trying different things, and ultimately reaping long-term success. I'm looking for those type of clients who want to work with us for a while. It's always exciting to do a one-off, but sometimes those things can be a little bit of a flash in the pan. And what really gets me going is when you can create long-term quantitative success where you have great creative, great management, and at the end of the day, the numbers back it up. You have a cool brand and you have the following that you can leverage to make your business work for you.
Awesome. So if someone's listening and they think they're that person that they want to build a long-term relationship with you, working relationship with you, where on social media can they find you?
I have 2 pages, Kure Creative and Kure Real Estate. And the Kure Real Estate page is mostly just, real estate porn, amazing houses, highlights all my different real estate clients. And then Kure Creative is just more of a general page. We highlight a lot of the different work we do with all different types of businesses across industry.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you for coming on, my first guest.
Woo-woo.
So thrilled to have you.
Yes,
and I will talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, guys.